When people talk about the great power forwards of the early 2000s, three all-time great names usually come up, as they should: Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and Dirk Nowitzki. But one player who rarely gets mentioned who was competing at that elite level at that same position was the all-star Chris Webber, who for a variety of reasons gets overlooked among the great forwards of that era. Today, we're evaluating the legacy, talent, and overall career of Chris Webber, and we'll start as we always do by taking it back to the beginning of his career. Chris was drafted with the first overall pick in the 1993 NBA draft by the Orlando Magic, but was then immediately traded to the Golden State Warriors for Penny Hardaway and 3 future first-round picks. His talent earned him the first selection as he was a quality scorer, a solid ball handler, and could rebound with the best of them, and those skills translated extremely well to the NBA level. With Webber added to the starting lineup, the Warriors became a winning team once again, on their way to the NBA playoffs. They went 50-32 throughout the regular season, and Webber was named that season's Rookie of the Year with averages of 17.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 2.2 blocks on 55.2% shooting. It was a strong first season that ultimately ended in a sweep to the defending Western Conference champions, the Phoenix Suns. Despite quickly approaching star status with his significant impact, not all was well within the Golden State organization. Head coach of the Warriors Don Nelson and Webber butted heads. Nelson had a history of coaching small ball lineups, so Nelson naturally moved the 6'9" Webber to the center position, which was a position Webber wasn't very comfortable playing. With Chris's ball handling skills, he wanted to be involved in the offense in more ways than simply standing in the paint and waiting for the ball to be dumped down to him. The issues left Webber wanting out of the situation, so he exercised his one-year escape clause, and the Warriors agreed to a sign-and trade that sent him to the Washington Bullets. The Bullets were a team devoid of talent, and Chris would be a major addition in that aspect. But even though he would put up nice numbers in his first 2 seasons with the team, he also did it in limited time as he dealt with significant injuries, playing in only 69 out of the 164 games. It wasn't until his 3rd season with Washington that Webber had a healthy season and broke out as an all-star. He averaged 20.1 points, 10.3 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and 1.9 blocks on 51.8% shooting. This was good enough to lead them to a 44-38 record and the 8th seed in the playoffs before they were eliminated by Jordan and the Bulls. Thanks to Webber, this was Washington's first playoff appearance in 9 seasons. By the summer of 1998, Webber had established himself as one of the better power forwards the league had to offer. But after failing once again to make a deep postseason run, Washington was ready to commit to a full rebuild, and traded Webber to a place where he would settle down and enjoy the prime of his career, the Sacramento Kings. With additional acquisitions of Peja Stojakovic, Vlade Divac, and Jason Williams, Sacramento was quickly building themselves a contender in the Western Conference. Webber would continue to improve his game as he led the league in rebounds in 1999 with 13 per game, which ended Dennis Rodman's streak of 7 straight seasons as the rebounding champion. Chris's prime season came in the 2000 to 2001 campaign, where the 27-year-old put up 27.1 points, 11.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.7 blocks on 48.1% shooting. At this point, Webber was legitimately in the conversation of being the best power forward in the entire league. His 27.1 points per game is a higher average than Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, or Dirk Nowitzki have ever achieved. With these incredible numbers, Webber led Sacramento to a 55-27 season as he finished 4th overall in the league MVP race. They would go on to lose in the playoffs to Shaq and Kobe's Lakers for the 2nd straight season, as their rivalry was continuing to heat up. But the following season appeared to be Webber's and the Sacramento Kings' year. As a Lakers fan who hates to admit this, I can say that the 2002 Kings had a beautiful and unselfish style of team basketball, as they had 7 players who averaged double-digit scoring over the course of the season. Webber once again did his part, as he put up solid numbers throughout the season, leading the Kings to a 61-21 record, which was easily the best record in franchise history. After handily beating the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks in the first 2 rounds, the stage was set for the game's biggest rivals to square off for the 3rd straight season. Lakers, Kings, best of 7. At this point, everyone who followed the NBA closely knew that this was the real NBA championship. The Western Conference was superior in talent to the Eastern Conference, and it didn't matter who represented the East in the finals. Both the Lakers and the Kings would destroy them. Over the series, Webber did lead the Kings in turnovers and made several crucial blunders in critical moments, which I'll touch on more later. But overall, he had a monster series, putting up strong all-around numbers. This would be a classic 7-game series for the ages, but unfortunately, it may also be the most controversial series of NBA history. The Lakers would win this series in overtime of the 7th game, but many people think it shouldn't have even got to that point. Sacramento was leading the series 3-2 when Game 6 had numerous questionable calls throughout the game that was going almost entirely in the Lakers' favor. It seemed just like bad refereeing at the time, but it turns out it was probably much more than just that. Years later, NBA referee Tim Donaghy was convicted and sent to prison for illegal gambling, as he bet on NBA games that he refereed. Donaghy has since said that the league had an agenda to have the Lakers win Game 6. Whether or not you believe this statement is up to you. Based on this information, Chris Webber should be an NBA champion, and be known as the man who was the best player on the team that ended the Shaq and Kobe dynasty. This is another reason why Chris Webber's legacy is overlooked, although I don't think it should be. After this point, Webber would continue to be an effective and elite player for several years, but he would begin to deal with more and more injuries and would never quite get as close to the mountaintop as he did with the Kings in 2002. He closed out his career playing with Philadelphia, Detroit, and the Golden State Warriors. Looking at the totality of his career, Webber was a 5-time All-Star, he made 5 All-NBA teams, was the 1994 Rookie of the Year, and was the 1999 Rebounding Champion. Overall, he was a solid scorer, could bang down low, but also had a quality mid-range jumper. He was a terrific rebounder and was one of the best passing big men of his era. In my opinion, Webber had the perfect storm of circumstances for being a great player who gets overlooked in history. For one, he should have been an NBA champion, but he wasn't. Second, he was a bit of a journeyman who spent the majority of his career playing for less prestigious teams. And 3, he didn't play long enough to rank very high on the all-time lists. Not everything about Webber's game was fantastic though. He was a player who was known to make many crucial errors and mistakes when it counted. After all, one of his most famous plays of his career was actually from his college days with the Michigan Wolverines, when he called a timeout in the final moments when his team didn't have any. This resulted in a technical foul, possession going to North Carolina, and ultimately caused his team to lose the national championship game. Some of these mental lapses continued into his basketball career, as he made many costly turnovers, like I alluded to from the 2002 West Finals. And I even remember an instance in the playoffs where he already had a technical foul and was visibly upset and nearly got ejected by picking up his second one when Kobe Bryant tried to calm him down so that he could stay in the game. That's right, his opponent tried to get him to keep his cool so that he could remain in the game for what was, at the time, the biggest game of his life. Regardless of his judgment issues in key moments, Webber was still an overall all-time great at his position. He had a higher career scoring average than Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, and he had a higher assist per game average than Duncan, Garnett, and Dirk Nowitzki. I wouldn't rank him higher on the all-time list than Duncan, Dirk, or Garnett, but at the very least, he belongs in that class of great big men. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.